therapist show you? I said, whoops. I said, but that was one of the things that they taught us. And then at the pool this morning, I was talking about the class and I showed them a couple of other things about how, like if you were on the floor, you want to make sure that the piece of furniture that you're trying to climb up is up against something sturdy. And so I'm spreading little tidbits of helpful information.
Yay, awesome. Carol, we were just talking about, has anybody attempted any of the methods to get to and from the floor, any of the bed exercises that can help with getting up from the floor easier?
Any of the, which exercises?
Any of the floor work that we've talked about in the past couple weeks?
Truthfully, I have just been trying to recover from my accidents.
Okay, okay,
And I have not been doing much of anything.
okay.
I haven't even been able to, I haven't been able to drive or anything.
Okay.
I haven't
Sorry
been
to hear
able to drive, or anything, since the toilet episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Understandable. There's no pressure. I'm just checking in.
yep.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, today we're going to get into how to fall.
Good.
There is a video, I believe I posted it. I'm a little behind on posting the replays, but I believe it was week 4 or 5. I posted a video of a gentleman who's like in his 90s. I can't play it on here or else YouTube will strike me as copyrighted information.
Oh,
So just go and watch it. It's cute. It's like 3 minutes or something. And the guy teaches people how to fall, but he does so on a trampoline. So by constantly getting that impact, his body is accustomed to it. And he's like, I've fallen thousands of times. And he'll like, he teaches a twist method. So, you know what, maybe I'll just stop the recording and we'll watch it anyway. But he teaches a method where as you're going down, you kind of cross your legs and twist so that any rotational movement is going to take out some of that direct force. So we'll go through our day today, and then at the very end, I'll stop the recording and we'll watch that video. Because it's just, I like him and he's inspiring, and he's on a mission to help people learn how to fall. So I like it. I've also heard of, I've never done this, but I've heard of physical therapists and seen them on Instagram that will take their patients outside in the grass and not really push them down, but they will practice falling on grass. And
wow.
I purchased a gymnastics mat to potentially start incorporating this. The company that I took this class from that really changed, I've referenced it a couple of times, it changed my practice and I started implementing a lot more floor work, is called the Institute of Clinical Excellence. They actually have a lot of free presentations online that you can just put your email and get signed up for. I highly recommend them. I will email that out to you.
Okay.
But that's where I get a lot of my teaching from now. So if you do watch them, you'll see a lot of redundancy. Hey, Bonnie. And they have a workshop on there where they operate out of a CrossFit gym that has a bunch of those gymnastics mats. So all of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, they have done and have seniors just rolling and tucking and practicing falling. And when I took this class in person, we had to practice falling on our own too. And I'll tell you, even I had a little bit of like butterflies in my stomach, just throwing myself on the ground. So everything we're going to practice today, I would say could safely be practiced on a bed or a couch. And then if you really want to get crazy, probably find another crazy person to do this with, like a crazy PT, who can safely provide the cushions and stuff on the floor that you could train this with. So I'm gonna pull up, there's a, let's see here. Okay, I have just a couple slides for you guys. Okay. Let's see. Okay, can you see the full slideshow there?
Mhm.
Okay. So just to reiterate, we've touched on this in the past couple weeks. What to do if you do fall, or I probably should change that to when you do fall. We're trying to take the shame and fear out of falling and just be realistic. It's probably going to happen again at some point in our lives. So let's just be prepared and build our confidence around it. So, number one, slow everything down, assess the situation. So, again, the main risk when you fall is, of course, fractures, hitting your head and getting like a brain bleed, and then breaking your back and getting some kind of spinal cord injury. A fracture, you will know right away. Brain injury or concussion type thing, you'll probably be out of it, or you might even lose consciousness. So in that case, there's nothing for us to do because we'll be passed out. The last one of a spinal cord injury, we really want to be cautious turning our spine right away. So I recommend moving your fingers, elbows, shoulders. Okay, those all look good. Then start at your toes, pump your ankles. Okay, can I move my knees? Can I rock my hips? Kind of butterfly your hips like that. And just say, okay, all my joints seem to be working. That is a good scan to do to check for fracture too, because when we fall, there's a lot of adrenaline that can initially, you can be in shock and it can hide the pain. So you might not realize that you fractured your wrist or something. A lot of people will hear it. It'll be an audible crack, so you will know. But you might be in shock because it can happen really fast. So by checking, start at the furthest point of your extremities, so fingers and toes, and working your way up, you might encounter, oh, I think my wrist is broken or my leg is broken. Yeah, Aunt Law.
So I've only fallen twice in the last 5 years. Once was when I fell on the lawn a month ago. But the time before that, I actually fell right where I am now. And I had practiced with my physical therapist, so I knew how to get up. But I did the same thing. I checked everything. Everything felt good. I wiggled everything, make sure that no, but it turned out that I had fractured my pelvic bone, but didn't even realize it. It was, I don't know. I don't know how I would have checked for it, but at some point they were doing, I forget what kind of an x-ray for what, but they saw it. So I did fracture.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So pelvic is one of those things that it could have been so small. Like, was it a hairline type
Yes.
fracture? Okay.
Yes.
Man, that was lucky because pelvic fractures are so painful. If you have a pelvic fracture that is going to be limiting, you would know the second you stand up or move. Like a lot of pelvic fractures, even just standing up from a chair or shifting on the couch, walking, anything weight bearing is going to be excruciatingly painful. So if you didn't have any of those things, then that's a good sign that it wasn't really
It
limiting your
wasn't that
functioning.
bad, yeah.
That's a great point.
Some years ago, I fell on my butt and I did not think I hurt myself. I checked myself all out and didn't think I hurt myself. I went about my business, and 2 weeks later, I went to put my left leg out of the bed and
Oh,
I was in excruciating pain.
Hmm.
And it ended up that I fractured my superior and inferior pelvis.
ouch.
And uh, it didn't show up for over 2 weeks.
That is so interesting, isn't it? I mean, it could just be that it was vulnerable and then it just took that amount of repetitions of walking on it and then it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
And
Uh,
then, believe it or not, 2 months later, I was still recovering from this. I was rolling around in my kitchen on a stool, and I went to take the trash bag out, and you know how you think something's going to be heavy and it's not. And I stood up thinking it was going to be heavy, and when I pulled it out and it wasn't, and I went backward and I knocked the
Ooh.
stool across the room, and I fell on my butt on the tile. And I thought, oh, and I'm still recovering from this broken pelvis. And I said, oh, Carol, I can't believe you did this. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking, ay, 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 ay. And then of course I crawl to the living room on my slither like a snake on my belly till I get to the dining room, till I get to a chair so I can get up. And the same thing 2 weeks later, the right side hurts just like the left side. And I broke the same exact two bones on the right side of my pelvis that I had broken on the left side of my pelvis.
Wow.
oh no.
And again, it took 2 weeks to show up.
Huh.
Wow. You know, some hospitals, most hospitals, and most like assisted living, skilled nursing facilities that I have worked in have a protocol that if anyone falls, they send them to x-ray. They just are not playing games with that. They just want to catch everything. Um, you know, most of the time it does come back negative, but they um, you know, you could, if you fall and you have had this experience of later down the line, something's caught, you could go report it to your primary and say, hey, do I need imaging? Um, but likely if you're asymptomatic, if you're not having pain, imaging really probably isn't indicated. I think most hospitals and facilities are being extra cautious for liability and um, if you're not having pain, there won't necessarily be any treatment to do. Um,
And there
so
is no treatment for those broken pelvis
yeah,
areas.
exactly. I mean, you could sign up for physical therapy. Um, but again, if you're not having pain and it doesn't show up till 2 weeks later, why would you treat
Yeah.
something that's not there? So, but that is something to think about and something that some places do.
And that's
Uh,
why with this last scooter incident, I keep praying, oh Lord, just don't let something show up,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
later.
Yeah,
'Cause-
for sure. So we find ourselves on the ground, we slow everything down, we check all of our extremities before we move our neck, then we move our neck. Um, you guys already know this. Don't let anyone run up and touch you. If possible, ask the people around you to bring you what you need. So tennis shoes, chairs, gait belt. Um, we talked last week, there are some great questions about how can I instruct somebody to help me if there are no furniture around. And you can turn them into human furniture with handholds and pressing down either on their hands or on their legs. um, to stand up that way. I'm always going to go for, if I can get somebody to flip on their belly, get on all fours, and push up on something, that's always my go-to, because you're doing almost 100% of the work yourself, and you're going to be feeling empowered. You're going to feel in control of the situation, and you and the people around you will be at less risk of injury. Worst case scenario, call 911 if needed. If it is going to put, you or the people around you in danger, to do that. Or if you have injuries, obviously, if you have a fracture, you're calling 911. Sit for a few minutes, check again for injuries and pain. This one I have started recommending to everyone. So I recommend keeping a fall log and writing the details as close to the event as possible. So that way it's like, okay, it's, what is it, November 7th today? It's 2 p.m. I was going to stand up from the dining room table and I tripped over the rug and whatever. So that way you just have the facts laid out. Just as a reminder, this could go in your medical notebook. So I recommend that everyone have a medical notebook with all of their doctors and specialists, your pharmacists, names, contact information, questions for when you go to the doctor's visit. If you are in the process of figuring out some stuff with your heart, you can keep a blood pressure log in there, and then you can keep a fall log in there. So just having like one medical notebook or binder with all of this in an easy place to access is a really good strategy. I also recommend, when you do fall, to report it to your primary care doctor. They might say, okay, cool, just call us if you start hurting and need a follow-up appointment, then we can get you in here, but at least they can keep record of it. And then if you do have a physical therapist, they're another good person to tell, because they will probably want to work on your balance with you. And yeah, Aunt Law.
So I certainly understand the value in telling your physical therapist. I'm not quite sure, unless it has something to do with I was dizzy or something with medicine, why would my primary care doctor need to know? I mean, what is she?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How is that going to help me? How's that going to be a benefit, I guess?
I guess it's just having a conversation and having someone else to brainstorm with. You've
Okay.
had 2 falls recently, but before that you hadn't fallen in 3 years. I wonder why you've fallen twice. And they just come at it from their angle. And if you walked away with no injuries, there was no dizziness or medical condition that might have contributed to it, you might just save it for your annual visit and say, hey doc, it's kind of weird, I've had 2 falls this past year, just reporting that. And they can kind of keep track year to year. But this is more so for, I have a lot of patients who don't tell anybody anything. They don't tell their family members. A lot of times they don't have family or social support. And so it's more like, make sure you're telling somebody. So if you're already problem solving it with your physical therapist, that's probably enough. For some people that aren't actively in PT, then, it's just an option, but I trust you guys to make your best call.
Well, I like the idea because I just actually remembered another time that I fell. So it would be good, just even though there's only been a few times over the past 5 years, it would be good to just remember the details, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, like, we all have our own specialty and our own, like, when you tell me that you fell, my brain goes immediately to, I wonder what her strength is like. I wonder what her balance is like. I wonder what her fall prevention risk factors are like, when you tell a cardiologist that you fell, their head's going to go someplace. They're going to, kind of run through their differential diagnosis of why could she have fallen. If you tell your primary care, oh, I've fallen 3 times in the past year, they're going to have their go-to things that they're thinking about and asking you. So it just can't hurt to have more people in the conversation.
And I actually have told my primary, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I've told her every time I fell. Because they ask you now, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, there's no reason to, so.
Yeah. And yeah, because I'm coming at it, I mean, I am coming at it from the whole body, but my strength and my specialty is looking at the musculoskeletal system, vestibular, stuff like that, whereas theirs is going to be more medical conditions and comorbidities and stuff like that, medications. So we kind of, in your book, there's a page called like my fall prevention team / my health team. And so you kind of have all of the teammates represent all of the different things that could be causing you to fall. So yeah, that was a great question. Yep. And then lastly, just having a plan in place. So practice and know your best way to stand up. This is not only going to build your confidence, build your strength in standing up so you don't have to rely on other people as much, but it will take a lot of the stress out of the situation when you do fall, because you will have recently been here before in a calm situation. Like we said before, most people in there, I don't know when people stop getting to the floor as much, but for some people for some people they don't get on the floor much throughout their whole lives, but 60s, 70s, 80s, people start getting on the floor less and less. And so most of their interactions with the floor are negative and potentially traumatic and just uncomfortable, scary, embarrassing. So if we can practice this stuff and be on the floor in a calm environment, our nervous system feels safe and in control, then if you do have a scary fall, it'll just be a little less scary than if you hadn't been on the ground in 7 years or something. We talked about medical alert systems last time. Carrying your phone on your person is a good strategy. Having the lockbox so that the EMS can get into your house without breaking your door off the hinges. And then another strategy, if finances are a barrier or you just aren't gonna, yourself and you're not gonna carry your phone or wear a bracelet or something, is to have a daily phone call check-in with one of your loved ones. And that is like your fall prevention plan. And like worst case scenario, if you had your daily check-in phone call and then you fell right after that, worst case scenario, you'd be down for 24 hours before someone was like, something is up. So now, okay. The good news is safe fall landing can be learned. So that is encouraging. They did a study. This is a smaller study, but they took people ages 55 to 75 and they had 2 30-minute sessions. That's it, of practicing falling. And with that alone, they were able to have 54% slower head acceleration. So less likely to get a concussion or brain injury, and then 33% lower impact force at the hip. So that's just very encouraging to know that there is something that we can do about this. So principles of fall landing. Don't freeze. This is why they say that people that get in car accidents that are drunk driving, tend to get injured less because their bodies aren't as rigid. So that shock isn't just going straight up their bone and shattering the whole thing. It's kind of loosey-goosey. So don't freeze, get low. So that is part of what that man's strategy is with twisting, is if you go down like this versus if you twist and go down, you're getting your whole body mass lower to the ground. People that fall from a standing position are much more likely to fracture something than people that fall off of a chair. Yeah, question?
So, well, I fell a couple of weeks ago in the grass. We had just started the course. I think we've been in it a week or something. And I remember actually thinking, okay, so I'm going to make a choice on how this is going to happen. It wasn't, it was a matter of seconds, but not even seconds probably. But it seemed like it seemed like I felt less panicky because I had a plan already that I was going to not throw my wrist out and all of that. And I turned, and it's almost like I became more fluid. I just wasn't, I wasn't as concerned with that fall like I have been in the past when I've fallen. So maybe being loosey-goosey is part of it, but how to do that?
Yeah, how to make that your instinct, because a lot of times instinct just happens. It's like out of our control. It's a reflex.
That's right.
Which is why practicing these things that we're going to practice today can be helpful. And this goes back to that idea of like, if we are not intentional about building our confidence and practicing these things, then we're likely slowly losing our confidence with it. So it does take some practice, especially if your instinct is to freeze, then we'll have to get some repetitions of a different method to break that as your instinct. But that sounds like a really good win that was yes, our thoughts happen in milliseconds, but the fact that you could think, oh, I have a plan. Oh, I'm not going to put my wrist out. Oh, I'm going to roll. In the heat of the moment is a really good sign. So getting low, avoiding straight lines if possible. That's like extending your arm and falling on your wrist. They're very likely to break your wrist, especially if you do have osteopenia or osteoporosis there. You can have it worse in your wrists than your hips or vice versa. And then, yeah, avoiding straight legs. If you can bend your knees, that can absorb some of the shock too, instead of just like freezing and timber. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of like cows and goats that are startled and they just literally freeze and then they tip over. So twisting, rolling, anything rotational is going to really help. We're going to talk about that with the head too. Spreading your impact across your body. So as we'll get to in a second, instead of landing on hands, if you are going to be more rigid or you don't have as much time to initiate rolling, can you at least land on your forearms and distribute the force from this area to a much larger area?
Okay.
Can you land kind of on the meat, like if you have a lot of musculature around your thighs and your butt, that might be a softer place to land. Or maybe for you, if you have more meat around your back and your stomach, then kind of landing on something where there's more cushion, for lack of a better term.
Good. I'm going to land on my stomach then. That's where all my cushion is.
Yeah. That reminds me of like, what is it when we were kids where you jump into a pool and you just like belly flop?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
You might get the wind knocked out of you, but you won't get a fracture. That's like, I mean, that really is like softball and baseball players sliding. I've seen volleyball players diving. Um, I've seen tennis players dive.
You're
So
right. And
yeah,
they land on their body. Yeah.
yeah. And so instead of imagine landing on two hands versus starfishing out,
Yeah.
um, might hurt. You might get a scrape on your nose, but that would be much better off than fracturing something. So there's another technique. Um, protecting your head. So anything where you tuck your chin, if you're going down straight, turning your head is a really good strategy. So either tucking in, or if you're really going down, really the best is to turn your head. But I guess when I'm thinking tucking, if you're falling backwards, then tucking your head up. If you're falling forwards, rotating your head is a good idea. And then using soft surfaces for practice. So let's start with, I think I'm going to, all of that I have on here. So cool. At the end, I want you guys to be brainstorming. What is one way you're going to intentionally build your confidence in your leg strength and balance this week? Or it could also be with floor work. So you stop the screen share there and turn, I'll have to probably turn my camera a couple times so you guys can see me. So let's see here. First one. Hopefully you can see me there. Again, feel free to observe or participate if you want. But the first one is going to be against the wall. So instead of landing on hands, we're going to practice landing on forearms and rotating our head. So with this, you literally would just practice a couple times, like landing on your forearms and turning your head. I think it can also be a good idea to visualize the last time that you fell, where you were, what you were doing. So you can imagine, oh, I'm walking my dog. Oh, I'm about to go down, boom. And in your mind, you're kind of seeing that grass, or you're seeing the washer dryer where you fell last. You know, you're seeing a realistic situation of what might be happening. So it's more connecting it to that traumatic event. So then you can practice turning your head the other way, and you would just do this several times to practice. So again, we got to get repetitions built up of a new way of doing something. So another way.
Amber, when you were doing that with your forearms, did you have your hands open or closed, or does that matter?
It doesn't really matter, but I had mine closed.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it doesn't matter too much there. Then you can bring it down to lower surfaces. So you might practice just falling onto your
Wow.
table.
Okay.
And this is going to simulate a little bit lower of a surface, which is going to get you closer and closer to a real life scenario.
Right.
Then you might even take it down to a chair. So making sure, I would probably press this up to a wall or something like that, but you can get your feet wide and come down onto your forearms there. Now this is just for practice, so we don't want to make it miserable. If it's easier on your forearms and you actually want to get some repetitions doing this, just put a pillow there, and that's already a lot more comfortable. And so I'm picturing, oh, walking the dog, or I am visualizing like the last time that I tripped coming up the step coming into my house and boop and down. You can even do like a little toe trip and go down like that. So those are some ways that you can practice with that. Let me see if there's any other forearms. Yeah, that's the best way. Ideally, I wouldn't recommend practicing this unless you're simply wanting to build up the bone density in your wrists. To build up bone density in your wrists, we kind of talked about this several sessions ago, but we'd want to do anything weight bearing onto the wrist. So that's why push-ups can be particularly helpful. Those planks where you're kind of just in this position or just holding this position is going to put stress on your bones, which is going to make them stronger. So if your goal is to build up bone density in your wrists, then you can do some of these, but just keep in mind that might reinforce that pattern of,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm falling. So just be mindful of that.
So I can't do it on a chair. It's too low, but I can do it on a stool, which is still lower than the table. So I can see different levels I can practice on.
Cool. That's great. You can also, well, yeah, you're wicked tall, but you can widen your feet. As we talked about last week, the wider our feet are, the closer we are to the ground. So you might try that, but okay, we did that. We did landing on the wall with a head turn. You can also practice just like a wall push-up. So, sorry, this is not quite enough room. There we go. So you can just do this kind of number as you're doing your push-ups. So we're just practicing protecting the head. Okay. Now I'm gonna do it from a chair position. This is where we start to practice the tuck and roll. If you are gonna practice this, you wanna have a really, carpet or some kind of gymnastics mat or something like that. So the PowerPoint presentation that I'm gonna send you from the Institute of Clinical Excellence, if you watch their videos, you'll see them doing this where you pick a chair or a couch and you're already very low to the ground. You can even put a hand down and then you're gonna just tuck and roll. So you can go nice and slow. And you can practice it to either side too. So you might practice once to the left and then you're already so close, you're even touching the ground. And then we practice over the right shoulder. And then as you get more confident with that, so I would start really slow and gingerly at first. But if this were something that you wanted to practice, you could go faster and faster. So you could just, and then the impact will get a little bit stronger every time, but you'll kind of slowly build up to that tolerance. After that, we could start to think about practicing from a standing position. So with this, I would highly recommend something for your knees, but you're gonna start so slow, you're gonna crouch down low and boom. And you can incorporate the forearm and the head turn as well. So again, you're going down, you're visualizing the grass or your kitchen, and you're like that. So there's that one. Again, a lot of these are going to be more accessible if you are in the safety of a physical therapy session. Because like they had us practice as well. So first is just slowly landing on your knees. Then you can practice just from the knees, just to the floor. So you're not falling from a standing height, but then, and you have like a very cushioned mat. You can practice catching yourself on your hands and turning your head, or you can practice that forearm landing of laying out like that. So this might be a good position for you guys to start with if kneeling is accessible for you, especially on your bed, because I feel like it's going to be so cushiony. It's going to feel like you're just diving into a marshmallow pit, so it won't be as scary. And then another method that we talked about was the tuck and roll. So if you wanted to, you could practice, okay, I'm going down. Oh, I turn my legs, twist your legs, and then kind of finish out the roll. And even that being said, you could just start from a seated position if this is all pretty scary, and you could just practice rolling on your back and sitting back up and just hang on to your knees and just practice even rolling like that. So just kind of playing around. You can even sit on the edge of your bed and just roll back on your bed and sit back up. There's so much you could practice on your bed with the rolling and just flopping onto the bed that could get you into a better instinct with the falling.
How about falling into the pool? Like if I
Falling
was,
into the pool?
yeah, like if I was, if I could practice first just being in waist high water. I mean, it might help me,
For
get that
sure.
twisting thing, and then maybe eventually, go up one step, fall off one step. I don't know.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it.
I love that idea. Thanks. I'm going to add that. I think that's about it.
Gemini.
Is just we want to think about getting low to the ground and then breaking down the fall into bite-sized segments. So like I say, you don't have to start by standing and throwing yourself on the floor. And in fact, please don't start that way.
Right.
But you can break it down just from sitting and rolling over a shoulder, standing and landing like this against the wall. So there's so many very accessible, safe ways that you can practice right now. That's not jumping in too fast. So any questions or thoughts there?
I have one.
Yep.
I was at the park this morning and I saw this woman. She was probably my age, walking her dog, and she was stopping. She was doing some stretches, and one of them was she was standing up straight and she leaned over. I thought she was just going to put her palms on the ground to stretch her back and legs and whatever, but she ended up putting her hands, her hands under her toes on both sides and kind of doing a foot lift, but it's while she was standing. I've never seen anybody do that before. It was like she was, how you do the slant board when you're at physical therapy? It was almost like she was recreating that with her hands. It
was she, let's see here. I have to do it. I can't. Maybe. So was she over like this and like standing on her hands?
Yes, exactly. But then she was pulling her toes up, like her her toes towards her head,
Oh, interesting.
almost as
Huh.
if she was back on her heels. I've never, she must have incredible balance. That's all I could imagine.
I know in yoga classes that I've done, they often do that. It is to stretch the hamstrings and the
Yeah,
back.
that's what I was thinking.
Um,
Hamstring, yeah.
and you can also, they talk about like decompressing your wrist a little bit. So with the downward pressure, it kind of opens up the wrist joint a little.
Hmm.
So interesting. But she must have been adding maybe a calf stretch or something like that, a toe
Yeah, if I
stretch.
see her again, I'm gonna ask her because it was very interesting. She obviously in good shape. But
Yeah,
she,
ask her. I'd be curious to see what her intention with
yeah,
that is. So
maybe
does
she was scratching her toe. I have no idea.
yeah. Can everyone think of one way that you're going to intentionally increase your confidence before we meet again on Monday with your leg strength, your balance, or the floor? Is there any way that feels doable?
I'll go first. I don't have carpet. So what I'm going to do is I have some area rugs that I don't have out intentionally, and I'm going to put one down in an area where I can use that to eventually practice falling on the ground.
Cool. Love it.
And I'll also practice in the pool.
Yeah, I love that idea. Let us know how it goes. And also for your knees, you might want a folded up blanket or
Okay,
some kind of cushion. You could take couch
extra.
cushions,
Okay,
um, either like couch cushions or outdoor patio furniture cushions,
yeah,
something real bulky and soft.
gotcha.
Carol, Bonnie, any ideas for how you're going to be intentional about building your confidence this week?
Well, I'm gonna try start with the wall push-ups and the table push-ups and then the cushion on the floor and falling forward and all. Could you tell us again about how the last one you did the tuck and roll where you sit on the floor of the bed and kind of walk me through that? I need notes on all these so I could go
Yes.
and look at them.
So if
Yeah,
you wanted to start with sitting on your bed, I would just kind of sit on the edge and then just kind of throw your body back and hold on to your knees and just rock back till you're laying down. It's kind of hard on the couch, but rock all the way back and then rock all the way up. Rock all the way back and rock all the way up. That's the same if you are on the floor. You can just rock back and rock up.
um,
And it just kind of gets your spine used to rolling. Because normally, if you haven't done that in a while, it might be uncomfortable. You might get a little pops and cracks the first time. You can also practice just rolling side to side. So just kind of swinging your knees over. And that's practicing rolling on your pelvis and your spine. And then you could also just stand over your bed and kind of just fall and roll onto it that way. So does that help, Bonnie?
Yeah, that last one was a good way to
Yeah.
fall into bed. That way you can practice all that.
Yeah, I like that one. You can practice the starfish. You can just run up to your bed and jump and starfish out.
like we used to do when we were kids, right? When we weren't
Yeah.
supposed to jump on the beds.
Yeah, exactly. Now full permission to jump on the beds. Carol, what's one little thing that you're going to do to increase your confidence this week?
Well, I could, if I were feeling up to par, I could do any of what you just did today.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
but I'm just not up to snuff at the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
So, once I recuperate a little bit, I did see my pain management doctor day before yesterday,
okay,
and she suggested I go get a magnesium infusion to help with help my body recover.
okay. This
So,
could be a good opportunity for you too, if you're not feeling up to driving, there are a lot of mobile therapists nowadays. Um, I would recommend getting an outpatient therapist like myself that as opposed to a home health therapist. However, you could also go the home health route. But that way you're getting some individual attention. As I've said from day one, doing this educational class alongside some one-on-one therapy would be an excellent pairing. So, especially if you're injured from a fall, I mean, um, what better time than when you're learning about falls to sign up for some therapy and just make sure you didn't get an ankle sprain or hurt your hip or do something like that. And um, they might do much different interventions with you, like just pain relief interventions, stretch you, mobilize your hips, mobilize your middle back, stuff like that, that um, can get you recovered, speed up the recovery process before you even think about doing any of this floor work. So that might be your confidence building thing. Um, so, okay, I'm gonna stop the recording and then let's watch this little short video.